we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Bzzz. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast,
Joel.
Oh, my voice recorder is showing me an ad now. That's awesome.
Yikes.
Welcome to episode 97 of Joel the Podcast. We are here. I don't know why I always want to say something after that. That's it. We're here in episode 97 of Joel the Podcast. I wanted to remind everyone that Nathan does not owe me $1.
Alex does not owe me $1.
Indeed. And we roll along.
Yep.
Let's do our sports minute. Let me get up my timer.
All right. I feel like we jump right into the sports minute nowadays. It seems like we used to be a good 6 minutes in, back in the day. I don't know what we do differently now.
I think we just, I don't know. See, the thing is, I easily could have. Remember how I was like, I mean, we're already doing it right now as we speak, but remember how I was like, I feel like I should want to say something after I say welcome to the podcast.
Right.
I could say something there and we could manufacture 5 minutes of conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean,
even if it was just about the fact that I had nothing to say, which is exactly what we're doing right now.
Right.
But
it just seems like a more natural transition, to have just a little bit of filler in between all the bits.
I agree. Well, the thing is, I need something to say regularly. Like, oh, we're here on I can't just say we're here on a rainy June evening because it's probably not raining where you are. I can see that it's sunny.
No, it's incredibly sunny right now.
Yeah, so I guess, you know what small talk we can make? Kudos to Skype for updating. I guess you haven't gotten the update because you use a Mac and it's terrible.
Update. I probably could get the update. I just didn't really try to.
Skype has updated, and now instead they have emoji reacts that you could do, but now the emoji reacts are you can change it to any emoji instead of a set of emojis, and also I can do a virtual background like Zoom.
That's pretty cool. Can I do that?
I'm pretty sure. What? I'm pretty sure this is what background Katie was using way back when we did that, so I guess this part isn't new. But their interface is new, at least.
Wait a minute. Oh. Alright, this isn't good content for podcasting, but since you can change your background, I've discovered that you can change it to just whatever you want.
Yeah.
So
no, it's hilarious. Some people have I don't know if it's Zoom or what software it is, but you can do a video background. So people have taken videos of themselves exercising or doing whatever and just made that their background, in the room that they're in. So it just looks like they're in the room with themselves doing whatever.
Yeah. That's a quality joke. I'm gonna make my background this picture of myself.
This is your senior photo.
Yeah, from high school.
From high school. Yeah, you look so much younger, and I guess it makes sense since it was 6 years ago. But when you think about a senior in high school, or at least when I do, I don't think of a child like you look in this picture. You look like a child.
It's having a real rough time with my arm right now too.
A minor, if you will. So yeah. There's your 5 minutes of filler, or however many minutes it was. 4 minutes.
Perfect. My scheme worked to perfection. Let's start the sports minute.
Let's do the sports minute here. So here's the timer, and go. So the NBA playoffs are trucking along. While the NBA playoffs are trucking along, the awards have been announced. So Nikola Jokic won the MVP, and Rudy Gobert won the Defensive Player of the Year, and Jordan Clarkson won Sixth Man of the Year. And those are all the ones I can remember. There might be one more. I don't think Rookie of the Year has been announced yet. So congratulations to those players. Coach of the Year was announced a while ago. I don't remember who it is. So it wasn't the Sixers coach. That's all I cared about. Also, the Sixers are up 2-1 on the Hawks, playing their Game 4 right now in Atlanta. The Suns just swept the Nuggets. The Jazz are up 2-1 on the Clippers, and the Bucks and Nets are tied 2-2, with the Nets having some big injuries. They were the favorite to win the title, and now with their injuries, they're probably not the favorite. So
Right. I would agree.
good. All right, time's up.
Some hard-hitting
There's your
analysis
weekly
there.
sports information dump. So today, did we receive any emails this week? Is Joel the Duck saved or not?
I have been waiting for as long as possible just to give, because we started recording just a little bit early, and we're about at the time where we normally start recording. So
Yep.
there's a chance that somebody is saving their email for the last possible minute just to sneak it in under the deadline to save.
I have
Joel the
the
Wooden
hour on
Duck.
the hour here now, so
It looks that way to me as well. But if we just check,
we didn't receive any emails this week. Unfortunately, is what it
No.
sounds like.
unbelievable we didn't, because we uploaded 3 episodes 3 days in a row. Gave you plenty of opportunity. I wonder if somebody deliberately didn't email us just to
They wanted to see you make the duck.
make me make a duck. Like, hand make it. I listened back to the podcast to figure out exactly what I had committed to. I have to hand make a wooden duck.
By the
That's
way,
ridiculous.
episode 96 has 6 views. I assume at least one of the 2 of them is you, but still, that's like
That's quite a few for it would
for
only
a
being
video that was
uploaded
just
a few
uploaded
days ago.
5 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there were let's assume that at least 2 of them are me for some reason. That's 4 people who listened to me threaten to make a wooden duck and throw it off my balcony and chose to not email us. Did we forget to say how they could email us?
I find it hard to believe, but I guess it's possible.
You know, every video description has the email, well, it has the website in it, which is obviously much more convenient than the email. So even if we did forget, I feel like this is still on the listeners. But just so we for sure don't forget this time, will you let our listeners know where they can go to email us?
Alex and Alex at joelthepodcast.github.io/Alex and Alex at joelthepodcast.website/index.html.
There
and
you
all those
go.
ats are spelled out AT, not the at symbol.
That's a good point. Maybe some people have been confused about that.
www.creedthoughts.gov/www.creedthoughts or something like that, whatever this thing is.
Good joke. Yeah, so I guess I've got to make a duck. Be sure to watch for that video upload
Yeah,
as I
he's not going to make
document
a
the
duck,
process
listeners.
of-
Spoiler alert.
I told Shelby about this,
Uh-huh.
and she was considering emailing to save the duck, but then she found out that if she emailed, I wouldn't make it in the first place.
Right.
So she wants to see the duck, and I'm pretty sure if I just say like, haha, it's just a joke, I'm not going to make the duck, she's going to be like, but I want to see the duck. So what I'm saying is there's a higher than normal percentage that will do a high effort thing for the podcast here.
Okay, I still don't think it's going to happen, but,
All right.
Shelby is probably the one person who might have a chance of making it happen, so...
Well,
So I guess there's a fighting chance, and it is a real shame, though, that I would have loved to have Shelby email the podcast, so...
yeah, that, we can only hope. But,
Okay, so today we have a terrific episode for you, as always. Another top 10 list. I know we've gotten tons of emails saying that they wanted more top 10 lists. That's not really true, obviously.
as we just spent
but-
like 5 minutes complaining about not getting any emails.
Yeah, we read every email we get on the podcast. That's
For
not
sure.
like spam, so So the listeners know that we don't have a bunch of emails saying how much they love top 10 lists, but we also don't have a bunch of emails saying that they don't like top 10 lists. So we're gonna do another one today. And Nathan, what are we counting down the top 10 of today?
We are counting down the top 10 of all time board games. So I think we got
there was like a collective in the audience.
some applause, I'm sure.
Yeah, like ooh ah. That's what I really meant when I did that. Like ooh ah.
Ooh.
Yeah, some applause.
Yeah.
This is from the listeners. This is not me clapping. I mean, it is me clapping, but it represents the listeners clapping.
Right.
Since
In
we're not
spirit.
like a live medium.
Right.
So
So yeah, we've got some great board games cooked up for you. We spent obviously a very long time planning this out.
weeks and
making
weeks.
Sure, right. This list has been thoroughly peer reviewed, so it's guaranteed to be 100% correct.
Objectively.
Yep. This is objective truth. So if you don't agree, I guess please email us and explain why you are wrong.
Or at least why you think we're wrong.
Or why you think we're wrong.
And then we'll tell you why you're wrong.
Exactly. So, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? Number 10.
Yeah, number 10, I bet as soon as you heard that we were doing a top 10 board games, this game came to your mind. Because it is one of the top 10 games of all time for sure. It is Joel the Game. As the listeners of this podcast know, this game is masterfully constructed by us. And it's not only is it fun to play, but it's fun to listen to.
Right.
And we're so intelligent that we not only created an amazing game, but then we actually improved it. We were like,
true.
certain parts of this game weren't working. Let's change them, and we did, and it's better than ever now. So, yeah, for sure, number 10 board game is Joel the Game. Any comments on Joel the Game?
Yeah, I mean, maybe listeners are thinking to themselves, like, wow, why is Joel the Game not higher on this list? Surely there aren't 9 games better than Joel the Game.
9 board games, nonetheless.
That's true, right. And, really, the answer, at least in my mind, is that I don't win it enough, so...
Right.
It's just, we're going through a bit of a rough patch, me and Joel the Game. And so I just couldn't justify it to myself being any higher, and I think you would agree that I deserve to be winning the game more, right?
I don't know if I agree with that. I think if anything, I deserve to be winning the game more. But I do want to say that, Joel the Game being at number 10 is not an indication of Joel the Game. It's more an indication of how good the other 9 board games on this list are.
Right.
So without further ado, why don't you read the next board game on this list so everyone can hear how good it is.
Right. Yeah, you've got to hear it to believe it, I think. So here it is. Number 9 best board game is a Doritos Locos Taco, the Cool Ranch variety, specifically from the local Taco Bell right here in Madison. I think this one kind of speaks for itself, but let me just pick up some of the highlights here. First of all, Doritos Locos Taco. I mean, you're combining the best of both worlds, right? First of all, food, obviously
right.
Very good. Second of all,
Yep.
Board games. I think the tie-in is very clear here.
It speaks for itself.
It definitely speaks for itself. But we're not even talking about just the base level Doritos Locos Taco. This is
Right,
this
which
is
is
the
already-
Cool Ranch variety.
Yeah.
I'd say, like the base levels maybe like 12 to 15 on this list.
It's at
probably.
least top tier, even if it's not in the top 10 by itself.
Very, very high tier food/board game. But the Cool Ranch, obviously, that's got to vault it up a couple of places. I don't think anybody can deny that. And then we gotta go support local business. So specifically the hometown Taco Bell. You can't tell me that a different Taco Bell makes better tacos than your home Taco Bell.
Well, I mean, no, I cannot tell you that, but that kind
There
of
you
puts
go.
me at odds with with you because you're talking about a different Taco Bell than is my home Taco Bell.
I guess I read the question. I made the rules. It wasn't really a question, I guess. I read the list entry.
Yeah.
So now that I've said that my hometown Taco Bell is the best, that kind of like, with all the objective truth stuff from before, that just sets it for everyone, I guess.
Yeah. Now you know what? Now that you mention it, I have been to Madison, and the Taco Bell there is really not for everything, but for the Cool Ranch Doritos Locos Tacos, it's really the best one you can go to.
Absolutely, no questions.
So yeah, I definitely agree with this coming in at number 9. As you said, the board game tie-in speaks for itself.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, someone else might be thinking. I mean, actually, there's definitely people out there thinking, Cool Ranch flavor. You don't want nacho cheese. Mm-hmm. And to those people, I say, are you serious? You want nacho cheese Doritos Locos Tacos instead of a Cool Ranch one? Like, for the Doritos themselves, yeah, I agree. But, like, have you even had the Locos Tacos Cool Ranch flavor? Because if not, I urge you to travel to Madison, Wisconsin and have it.
For sure. You know what? I don't think this has ever been a thing. I admittedly didn't do my Doritos Locos Tacos research fully, so I can't say this for sure. But if they made a spicy nacho version of the nacho cheese, Doritos Locos Taco, that I could see making a case for at the very least tying number 9 here.
Right.
But as it stands, I think we all can agree on the existence of the Cool Ranch Taco. So certainly earned its place here on at number 9, best board game of all time.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So moving on, coming in at number 8 board game is the Netflix comedy special Inside by Bo Burnham. This came out fairly recently. If you have not watched it, definitely, and you're into some kind of weird dark humor, go watch it. If you're not into that kind of humor, definitely don't watch it. But we are, I guess, because we both loved it and have watched it multiple times already. And the music is all available on YouTube and Spotify, and probably, I would assume, other music listening to platforms. So it is very funny, and I will say I will talk. I know we were talking about this before the podcast started. Oh, and by the way, no need to say why it's on the list of board games. It's pretty self-evident.
I don't think we really need to discuss that aspect of it whatsoever. It's probably the least interesting thing about it, really.
Right, but as I was saying, as we were talking about before, we could probably spend like 40 minutes talking about this special alone. But I just want to talk about my highlight, which was there's a bit where he sings a song and then does a reaction. Like at the end of the song, it just goes straight into a reaction video of him talking about the song. But then so you know how in a reaction video you have the person on the left side of the screen, like with the camera, and then like the video is in the upper right corner. Well, when the song ends, it just goes into the reaction video again. So then he's just reacting to the reaction video, and then it like goes like 3 levels deep, and it's so funny.
Very
and the song
good.
itself is pretty good too. So definitely,
I'm curious
my favorite part.
How
he filmed it.
What does it take to come up with that idea? You know?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, but I'm just curious how he filmed it. Like, it's so well timed that I assume he must have. Like, I can't think of how he would do it aside from just filming the entire reaction video, like, without actually reacting to anything.
Yeah.
And then, like obviously he reacted to the song to begin with, but, like, the entire rest of it, he must have been reacting to nothing. And then he just spliced, that video, but shorter each time. But his timing is so good, so I don't. Yeah, I was
you can tell from the vague comments. Highly recommended.
What was was that also your favorite part?
That was definitely up there for me. I want to say, I don't know if I can pick a single favorite part. I don't know. We listed off a handful of other things that I'm
just
definitely
list
a fan of.
another good part for the listeners.
All right, just another good part for the listeners. Obviously, one of the highlights of the entire thing is the song "Welcome to the Internet." I think it's a very self-aware kind of song about all the absolute nonsense on the internet. If there's one thing I could say about the song that I didn't like so much is that obviously Joel the podcast didn't get a shout out.
Yeah.
There were some other ideas dropped in. I feel like we could have been alluded to a little bit more clearly.
Right. I mean, we are, probably 80%. No, that's probably generous. 40% of all internet traffic. So,
right.
I mean,
I think he could have just had the throwaway line, you should sell your baby or you should get money,
right.
Or
yeah,
any of those classic.
Yeah, probably. I would assume he just didn't want to give us free advertising.
That's true. He's probably jealous.
So I from one business mogul to another, I feel you, Bo.
From our wildly successful comedy career to yours, that's
right. But so if you ever want to do a collaboration, we'd be down.
Right, just email us.
Yeah.
Man, what else is there to say about Inside? Definitely.
If you're not familiar with Bo Burnham, also go check out his other work. But Inside was filmed, edited, written entirely by him. So, just in the last year.
Over the course of the pandemic, he's just isolated on his own, creating this, incredible board game.
This is totally a tangent of Inside, but what was the deal with him being taller than his door? Does he just live in a house where he's taller than his door? Is that just where he lives?
But that would be so annoying, right? To be
sure. I know, right?
I know he's tall, but he's not ridiculously tall.
Right, he's
that's
probably
clearly
6'3",
an abnormally
6'5"
short door. That's gotta be the door's got to be less than 6 feet tall. That's a ridiculous door size.
He's 6'5". Yeah, I mean, I didn't even notice it until the bit where he mentioned it in the game playthrough bit. Where he's like, is it a tall guy or a small room? I don't get it. So I don't. That was weird. All right. So yeah, that's coming in hot at number 8.
All right, that means it's time to take a quick detour from the top 10 list. I'm going to give you my honorable mention. Obviously, one of the all-time great board games that just couldn't make the cut here. It is, of course, Tic-Tac-Toe. I think my favorite thing about Tic-Tac-Toe, it's I enjoy just playing a casual game with friends and whatever. But the replayability factor of Tic-Tac-Toe is what really sells it for me. Just endlessly unique. Always creating new ways for you to interact, and really just in no way is it a perfectly solved game.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I can think of 2 games of Tic-Tac-Toe that I played that have even been remotely similar, right? Every single game is a unique experience. Are you good at Tic-Tac-Toe?
I'm very good at Tic-Tac-Toe. I think I could probably always beat a small child.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
So that gives you a sense of my skill.
Yeah, I really was waiting for you to say something else that would place you, but I guess that's all you needed to say. So yeah, I would say I'm okay, right? I probably could beat a small child most of the time.
Right.
but it's not like when you go to like a place and like someone's like, "Hey, you want to play tic-tac-toe?" If that person's asking me to play tic-tac-toe, I already know that they're better than I am. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like okay, but not really good.
Sure.
Um, cool. So yeah. Unfortunate that it was not able to make the list, but definitely a classic, and good to have as an honorable mention
Yep.
on our list of top 10 board games. Okay, so coming in at number 7 board game is Toilet Tag. Now I know what you may be thinking. What is Toilet Tag?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
And if you don't know, then you're really missing out. So I'm going to assume that you're familiar with Tag, because that's a pretty popular game.
Right.
And I'm also going to assume that you're familiar with Freeze Tag, a variation on Tag, because
Sure.
most people know about that. Toilet Tag is a variation on Freeze Tag. So when you're tagged, if you instead of being frozen like in Freeze Tag, excuse me, you have to sit down cross-legged on the ground, and then in order to unfreeze you, somebody else has to come up, sit on your lap, and then pretend to flush you like a toilet. And that's how you get unfrozen and back in the game. And really, like, the toilet factor really launches it way above, normal, tag or even freeze tag.
Sure.
So, that's why it's coming in at number 7 here. Another classic, like you said, and board game, obviously.
Right.
So yeah, that's coming in at number 7, Toilet Tag.
You know what I want to know about Toilet Tag is what absolute legend had this idea in the first place. Like this titan of the board game industry coming in and being like, you know how in Freeze Tag when you get tagged you freeze in place.
Right.
And people just like, tag you to unfreeze you. So like how do you
Right.
what's the sheer brilliance needed to take that next step to when you get tagged, you'll sit down and wait for somebody to pretend to come and use you as a toilet to unfreeze you.
Right. Well, I can tell you almost. I don't know for sure. This is just a
Yeah.
guess, but this is almost certainly exactly what happened.
Okay.
Somebody was playing freeze tag, and then they had to go to the bathroom, and they were like, "Wait a minute."
That
Two of my favorite things.
there's only
it's
one
kinda
thing I
funny-
enjoy more than freeze tag, and that is going to the bathroom on people. What if I could
No, a
combine
toilet.
those? Oh, just
Don't make it weird. Come on.
see, this is why I'm not coming up with variations of tag.
Yeah. Your variation, you would have to actually pee on them. So it's kind of
That's,
funny. It's kind of funny because I've like just kind of, taken for granted this toilet tag because it was just like a thing that everybody knew when I was
Sure.
growing up. And this is like not a joke. I didn't realize how weird it was until I had to explain it to you. Like once you explain it, you're like, this is so fucking weird. What the heck? But really, I never even thought about it that way until today. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm the weird one. Maybe all our listeners are out there thinking like, he hasn't heard of toilet tag? I mean, come on.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
national staple.
Send us an email letting us know whether you've ever heard of or even played toilet tag.
Yeah,
we'd
very
love
interested to hear the results of that poll.
Yeah, I'm sure no one will email us about it, but at least I'd
All right.
theoretically be interested.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
What's number 6?
All right, number 6. I just want to throw in a quick disclaimer before we get to number 6. I know some of our top 10 lists in the past, we've had some humorous, like,
Right.
it's a bit of a stretch to associate some of the things on our list with
Right.
the item, and I think this is definitely one where that comes into play. So just keep that in mind. Like I think we can all agree at the end of the
Give us
day
the benefit
that this
of the
is a
doubt.
board game. Yeah, but just let's maybe before you compose that rage email at us saying that oh, this isn't a board game, just take a second and yeah, just exactly like you said, give us the benefit of the doubt here. Number 6 is obviously the board game Monopoly. Feels weird saying that even just
Yeah, in the same sentence as board game.
yeah. So I mean I think let's make sure that we cover our bases here. I think we need to maybe take a couple of seconds to consider why this might be considered a board game.
Sure.
I think probably nobody's going to argue with the game aspect, and probably nobody's going to argue with the board aspect either.
Right. I mean, you can correct me if you had a different experience, but every time I've played Monopoly, the first step was to take out the board, and the entire game was played out on the board.
Yeah.
So, given that information, I would say it's fair to call it a board game.
In fact, I think when you open up the box of Monopoly, likely the first thing you're going to see is the board. It's stored on top of the rest of the things. So, obviously everybody's entitled to their own opinions on this matter. I think, I would assume that most rational people would agree that this is a board game. But just do us a favor here. Think a bit about this. Is it really worth fighting all that much about? Anyway, all that disclaimer out of the way. Let's spend a few minutes talking about why Monopoly is number 6.
Yeah, I think one of the most fun parts about Monopoly is the fact that after about 30% of the way through the game, there's no decisions to be made.
Right.
It's very relaxing. Once all the properties have been bought, and trades have been made and whatnot, pretty much all you have to do is just go around the board, try not to land on anyone else's property, and buy as many houses as you can for your own properties.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know that I've considered it that way, but it is a very very relaxing game in the end. There, you're just at the fate of the dice, as they say.
Yeah, no skill needed even. So,
right. And I feel like it's one of those renowned classics. Everybody can sit down to a game of Monopoly. Great way to bond, make lasting friendships.
Absolutely, and it's super long too, so you don't have to worry about getting bored. After only a few minutes again.
Yeah, that's true. Less decision making about what to do.
Right.
Then,
Monopoly is famous for having many different variations, especially themed variations. So, in your experience, what's a good variation of Monopoly that you've played?
I think maybe the only variation of Monopoly that I've played is Purdueopoly.
Okay.
Which my parents, who are both also Purdue graduates, own. And therefore, I'm trying to think if we actually owned regular Monopoly. Surely we did. Because I don't remember only Purdueopoly. I didn't have some weird childhood where I thought the game was just Purdueopoly, and then I'm like,
right.
What is Monopoly? What is this? That's ridiculous.
What are some of the properties in Purdueopoly?
I mean, as far as I can remember, the properties are things like the buildings on campus, the Union, the University Hall, but then some other things that aren't really buildings or property. I'm pretty sure the railroads are obviously replaced with the Boilermaker Special, and I think maybe the I'm trying to think of what some of the other things might have been, because I feel like it wasn't the electrical engineering building,
right?
There wasn't maybe it was the engineering mall or something like that, or Memorial Mall. That's a good. I wonder if you can.
I'm just pulling up an image here. This looks pretty old. Let's see. Memorial Mall is one of the railroads.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have, this is upside down. Agricultural Mall. I don't know what that is.
Okay, that's for sure a thing. Right?
Stadium Mall and Engineering Mall. Those are the railroads.
Ah, okay. All
Um,
right.
the the utilities are looks like Sorority Rush and Fraternity Rush or Fraternity Row. Sorority. What does it say? This says Sorority Rush and Fraternity Row.
Sorority Rush,
So-
and Fraternity Row. You're right.
And let's see, Boardwalk and Park Place. We'll just check those out. Are Hovde Hall and Elliott Hall of Music. Wow, Hovde Hall is Boardwalk. That's a huge disappointment.
You got Windsor Hall and Cary Quad as the cheap properties, which
Yeah.
makes sense. Is that Domino's? As
No, it can't
as
be.
one of the orange properties?
Holy shit, I think it might be.
I think that's just Domino's.
That's hilarious.
Let's see,
I've
we
never
got-
heard of most of these restaurants or most of these businesses. Oh, there's Triple X.
I think a lot of these are probably not no longer on campus.
Yeah, there's Harry's Chocolate Shop
this
and
is a
Bonds. Is this the version your parents
Fairly
had?
old
I'm
game. This looks really familiar. I'm sure it's like
I'm sure there's a
this,
more
if not
up-to-date
exactly
version.
this.
So,
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So yeah. And so I have played many versions of Monopoly in my time.
Okay.
So I've played regular Monopoly, obviously. I've played
Right.
variations on like different versions of regular Monopoly. So there's Here and Now Monopoly, which is like with modern things as properties, and pieces, and the money's like multiplied by like 1,000. No,
Okay.
10,000. Because you can't buy like, a stadium, which is like one of the properties, for like $2. You have to buy it for $20,000, which is a much more reasonable price for a stadium.
Yeah.
And I've played that same version, but credit card. So I don't know if you've ever heard of credit card Monopoly, but instead of using cash, everyone has a credit card, and there's like a machine you put them in to do the transactions.
That seems like it would make it more difficult to cheat.
We don't cheat in my family.
Oh, that sounded
Um,
pretty accusatory. I think I should set the record straight that we don't cheat in my family either.
It sounds like that's what you thought of when you were trying to do that.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that the possibility is no longer there, or at least it makes it more difficult.
I've played Pokemon Monopoly,
Ooh, all right.
which
are
is
the properties
a long time
Pokemon?
ago, so I don't remember too much about it. I've played Christmas Monopoly, which has presents and Christmas trees as houses and hotels, respectively.
Okay.
I've played Mega Monopoly, which is like just imagine every aspect of Monopoly, you added one to it. So every set of properties has one more property with it.
Ah.
There's one level higher than hotels that you can build.
Yeah.
There's an additional denomination. There's like $1,000 bills, an additional denomination of bill. And the board is larger, obviously, because there's more properties.
Right.
And there's I've played that. I think that covers most of it that I can remember, at least.
Sure.
So yeah. There you go. Number 6 board game is Monopoly. All right, we spent way too much time on that. Let's go to number 5 here. Number 5 board game. I know when we started the top 10 list, some people were probably thinking about this, and I know we just came from a something that was like a questionable whether it's a board game, so it's good to go to one
Right.
that's no one can really argue with. Number 5, The Entire Earth. We've featured The Entire Earth on some of our other top 10 lists, and it absolutely goes in here at number 5. I would say I love The Entire Earth. Everyone I know is on it.
Right.
I plan to stay on it my entire life. So, I mean, really everything I like to do is on the Earth.
Yeah,
Um,
it's massive amounts of variety. Um, definitely good replayability. Um, yeah, I mean, what more is there to want, really?
yeah, not much, except for whatever the next four things will give us. So, yeah, don't try and sell it. There are a lot of problems with the entire Earth too. You know, we don't want to make it sound like it's perfect, which is because it's obviously not.
Right,
But all in all, definitely number five board game.
for sure, for sure. All right. Let's see. Coming down at the number 4 board game on our list here. So, if you remember a couple of items ago, we were discussing Toilet Tag as the number
Yep.
7 best board game. Um, Obviously, the best part of Toilet Tag is, I mean, I think everybody's thinking it at home, the toilet. So clearly, number 4 on the list is a toilet. You know, just forget all the tag, forget the, weird connotations of strange game creator ideas and whatnot. You know, it's toilet tag in its purest form, where you don't have to do the tag, you just have the toilet.
Absolutely. Honestly, I was hesitant to put toilet tag on the list because I was like, who's gonna care about toilet tag when toilet is on the list?
Yeah,
Because toilet is obviously the best part of that. But I would say that toilet tag is nothing without the toilet, and so it's only fair really to put toilet as the number 4 board game.
right.
And what would you say? I mean, obviously I see it, but what would you say to someone who, was like, how is toilet a board game?
I mean, just look at those lids. You can't tell me. First of all, there's like the lid that you put down when you want to sit on it, right?
Right?
Then there's the lid that you
Absolutely.
put down when you want to cover that. And
Right.
then usually there's the lid on the back of it too, if you want to like take it off and look at the water reservoir inside, there's a lid on that.
Right.
I mean, that's like many more lids than many other things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Board game.
And
Bam.
yeah, I honestly didn't even think about it from that aspect.
Yeah.
When I thought of it, I was like, well, you can flush the toilet and you can flush a board game. So,
Oh, yeah,
those
yeah.
are that's kind of how I justified it. But yours makes a lot more sense.
No, I think it's good to come at it from multiple angles. That's, excellent point both ways.
Awesome. All right, so before we get to the, ooh, my voice just cracked. Before we get to the top 3, I wanted to take a moment to go to my honorable mention here for top board games, which is Hamilton. If you haven't listened to the music, definitely go do it. It's a great musical, and if you have Disney Plus, definitely go check out the original cast recording that they have on there. It's really amazing.
Yeah, very good show.
And I mean, I would rather watch Hamilton than play Monopoly. And I was just talking about how much I love Monopoly, so that really should tell you. Even though it didn't make the list overall, for me personally, Hamilton is pretty
Right.
high.
Yeah, I think those are some valid points, and that's another one that's probably sitting down there top tier, just couldn't quite crack the top 10, because I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who when listing their favorite all time board games wouldn't at least toss Hamilton
Think
in
about.
for consideration. Yeah, gotta
Yeah,
think about it.
exactly.
So, all right.
And credit to Lin-Manuel Miranda for coming up with it. Because, most of these games on here, we don't actually know who came up with it, like aside from Joel the Game and Inside.
Right.
So credit to Lin-Manuel Miranda as well.
Yeah, so Lin-Manuel Miranda, if you're listening to this, please shoot us an email. We'd love to collab on your next project. We are accomplished podcasters and musicians ourselves, so I think that the skill set obviously translates to
yeah.
to
And
your
if you
work.
wanna, we haven't released our new theme song yet. So if you wanna collaborate with us on that, you can definitely get in on it.
Yeah, that goes without saying. I think if he wants to, if we got a if Lin Manuel Miranda emailed us like a theme song, like even if it wasn't in collaboration with us, I'm pretty sure we would switch to it. That's what I'm.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All
If
right.
that ever
So
happens.
now that we've got that out of the way, let's get
Yep.
to the top three, the cream of the crop, the best board games out there. Hit us with number
Yeah.
3.
All right. I mean, obviously, when you're thinking of the absolute best board games of all time, you've got to be thinking of number 3, rolling a dice until you get a 4. I
Holy
mean, it's
shit!
just
Yeah.
endless amounts of entertainment, enjoyment. It's very simple. Everybody can do it. You just have to have a dice. I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, you probably don't even have to have a dice. You can just imagine a dice. They're not very complicated. If you just like think of a square, and then think of it having a number between 1 and 6, that's a dice.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even think of that. As soon as you said that, I was like doing it like as you said it, and I was like, oh my gosh! Now I can do this whenever I want.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
like,
when I was describing that, right? Like when I said think of the number, was the number 4?
it was not, but I'm sure I could have done it a number of times until I came up with 4.
Exactly. And that's what's so special about this game. I mean, really, just, you look down the list of everything that didn't make it up to this point. What's the common denominator? You've got to have all this specialized equipment,
Yeah.
like the entire Earth. Who's got the time?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's great because obviously I carry a dice around with me wherever I go.
Right.
But I don't always have somewhere to roll it.
That's true.
So
That's true.
with this new technique that you just mentioned, this is like opening up a whole new world for me. Like I can just be doing this in the car, at church, at work,
Yeah.
while we're podcasting, literally all the time.
You know what my favorite part of rolling a dice until you get a 4 is? It's when you
What?
get a 5. Because that's like really close to a 4, So at first you're like, yes, I've done it. And then you see, obviously you take a closer look and you're like, oh, it's not a 4, it's a 5. But, what does that mean? You get to keep playing.
Yeah.
So you got
No,
that,
it-
just the whole range of emotions all packed in.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you say that as your favorite part because that's actually my least favorite part. Because
Interesting.
because I get real excited when I see that it's a 4, but then like when I see it's a 5 and not a 4,
Yeah.
that's like so frustrating to me, right? Like I'm like, oh come on, I really thought it was a 4, and it really dashes my hopes.
Sure.
So for me, my favorite part is rolling a 1 because it's clearly not a 4.
Yeah, for sure. Very
and I don't
clearly.
get my hopes up. But they still get the same continuing to play benefit that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I definitely many psychological angles of this game. I think there's some really complex analysis just waiting to be done. I'm curious if anybody's looked into the research aspect and the countless other real world applications of rolling a dice until you get a 4.
Absolutely. What would you call like a field of mathematics like that?
Oh man, I mean, like statistics sounds too boring. You don't really capture the excitement. I mean, I understand that it's like it's a game of chance, but it's
Right.
emphasis on the game.
Right.
Like this is a, I wouldn't quite go so far as to say life-changing moment the minute you pick up a dice and start to play, but certainly it's going to alter the trajectory of your day. Like it's, there's easily
Absolutely.
the potential there to really just improve your mood. So I don't know, like psychology isn't really right either, because there's, I don't know, it feels more quantitative than that. It really deserves its own field.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would call it like rolling dice until you get a fourology.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah,
kind
that
of long. You might want to shorten it to something more catchy, but that's my first thought.
sure. Yeah, honestly, that'll probably stick. I mean, it's rarely the most elegant solutions that come to mind first, but in this case, I think we really nailed it. You really nailed it. Got to give you the credit there. So
Thank you, thank
yeah,
you. It was a team effort.
sure.
I was inspired by you. But let's move on to number two in this list of top board games. Um, so this is another classic. I know we've had a number of classics already on this list, but this is another one of them, even older than I would say most of the board games on this list,
Right.
and it's Pong. Um, you know, for those of you who maybe like Pong, that sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is. Shame on you, first of all, but second of all, it's kind of like ping pong, but in video game form. You play as like a white platform,
Mm.
and your goal is to hit like a white ball to the other side, and the other person is also a white platform, and you just keep doing that until it gets past one of you.
Right.
And really, a lot of what I have to say about this game is like tic tac toe, but on steroids. Like every single second of the gameplay of this game is exhilarating, unique. The replayability is endless.
Right.
I have never once in my life gotten bored of this game.
Absolutely not. I think just the layers and layers of strategy that go in.
Yeah,
Watching the true masters work is just so entertaining. Almost even better than playing it yourself because you just get to see that skill set at such a high level. It's really pretty
yeah. No,
amazing.
the other day I was watching the World Championship from last year,
Right.
and I was like, I like could not sit still. I was like getting out of my seat every few seconds from the amazing, amazing plays that were being made.
Yeah.
Um, so
And obvious.
yeah,
I
so you're
mean,
absolutely right about
with it being remote
watching it.
last year, you really missed out on the crowd hype.
Right,
If there's
right.
one thing, obviously last year was one of the all-time greats. I'm always drawn back to 2017. You
Oh
know,
my gosh, I forgot
just
about that.
yeah. I mean, those fans, man, that's like a good 50% of the enjoyment was just that reaction, especially the chicken guy.
Dude, the chicken guy and the second chicken guy, those were the highlights of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, so absolutely. And if you haven't ever checked out the Pong competitive scene, absolutely go do so. It's a real treat. Go to a match in your area now that COVID is winding down.
Yeah.
So, all right. I know many of you may be thinking, what could possibly be better than Pong as a board game? And Nathan, why don't you tell us?
I'm gonna bring us home. Here it is. On our list of the top 10 board games, number 1. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and you could be exploited by hackers. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy. Check out the link in the description to get 20% off for the first 2 months, and thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video.
Absolutely, and I want to make some things clear. First of all, this video is not sponsored by NordVPN,
I can see why you
and
might be confused. Yeah.
and there's no link in the description.
Well, there might be.
There's no link to NordVPN in the description
That's
to
likely.
get 20% off. Um, this
We
is
can't
just
be held
the-
accountable for that claim. That's right.
This is just the board game, like this, right? This ad.
Yeah.
ad
Oh,
copy.
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I have to say, this was like when I was thinking of top 10, like when we first came up with this idea, and I started thinking of, what would I want to put on this list. This is not really coming to mind immediately, but when I thought of it, and really let it sit. And I don't remember if you mentioned it or I mentioned it, but
Yeah.
once it started simmering in my mind there, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this is the perfect board game.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most underappreciated best board games ever. You know, because like
Yeah.
it's never the top of anybody's mind, but I think you know you let them sit long enough, and I think every single person is going to be thinking like, oh man, like obviously NordVPN. Like I didn't even think of that as a candidate for this list because obviously it's the best.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, one underrated part of this game is the characters.
Yeah,
Like you've got NordVPN, obviously.
right.
But you've got the IP address, which can change.
The
You've got the
hackers.
link in the description. Really, there's the interaction between these three characters is, and it's only 3 characters, and you're like, oh, 3 characters. Other games have way more characters, but just the amazing interactions between them is really, like, unbelievable. Honestly, it's monumental. I would say
Absolutely
it's really
monumental.
the only word I can think of to appropriately describe it.
It's it's almost more than a board game. It's a story. You feel like you're there.
It's more than a story, honestly. I don't know what's more than a story, but this is it.
This is it for sure. If you need to compare things in the future, I think it's like NordVPN. That's all you got to
Absolutely.
say.
Absolutely. All right, so that concludes our top 10 board games list. Please send us an email. Let us know what you thought, what your top 10 list is, or criticizing our list. Really, anything that you are thinking about, whatever you're thinking about right now, email us about that.
Like right now, this second. Don't take any time. Just be honest with yourself and with us. What's going on?
Absolutely. So, I guess that concludes our episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tune in next week to hear more Joel the Podcast.
Yeah.
Or whenever the next episode actually is released.
I mean, now that we've had things released, I feel like we'll, as long as the wood duck making doesn't interfere with the podcast uploading, I think we'll be on a pretty regular weekly schedule again. At least that's
Yep.
my hope.
Yeah. So, yep, that's it. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex,
I'm Alex.
and this has been
Joel.
Joel.